This experiment will show you how they brought blood cells back to life using just sounds. I'm telling you, this is very real. Moreover, you'll see how, after putting sand on a sarcophagus, hieroglyphs started to appear as if they have their own frequency. What you're about to witness is so powerful, you'll want to start incorporating it into your life immediately. Keep watching all the way through. This video is loaded with mind-blowing experiments that are sure to astonish you. Let's begin.
My name is John Stuart Reid, and I'm an acoustic physics researcher. Pythagoras said that music could be used in place of medicine. It got my attention, and I thought there must be some experiments that could be conducted where we can carefully measure the response of music to some sort of healing situation. The first experiment that I conceived of was using blood. You take a vial of blood and you place it into an incubator with a small loudspeaker in the incubator that's feeding music to that blood. At the same time that that's happening, we have another vial of the same blood. We have a Faraday cage, which is electromagnetically screened, but it's also a very, very quiet environment. So that blood is not receiving any music, it's just receiving quiet. We go through a protocol that first dilutes the blood by a certain ratio with a buffer solution, and then we extract a small amount of that mixed blood. When we put that blood into the cell counter, it will tell us how many cells are actually live and what the term is viable. The cells in the Faraday cage have not fared very well at all. Mostly dead.
But if the cells are dead, that means that the cells from the tube that got exposed to my voice, they'll be dead too. I mean, it's the same blood.
I hope you can see this. Dilute the sample. More cells alive than the cell counter can count. That's a huge difference between the music and the quiet.
Is that true?
Well, look.
But this is amazing.
So I think we should repeat and see if we get the same result.
Another.
Above the range that it can count, cells that are transiting towards being dead have been actually re-enlivened to the extent that so many of them are now alive. It's really wonderful. An amazing result.
Wow, what we've just seen is absolutely amazing. It's like a real-life example of what's said in the Bible. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. Proverbs 18:21. The experiment we saw proves this in a big way. It was Anders Holte, known for his unique, kind of otherworldly music, whose voice re-enlivened the cells. That's mind-blowing. Of course, the point of this experiment is to showcase the power of harmonious sounds. It's not just about Anders Holte's unique ability, it's a bigger picture about good frequencies and their importance. This experiment helps us understand how vital these harmonious frequencies are. And it's not just any sound that has the power to re-enliven cells, but those that are in harmony, in tune with nature, and beneficial to our well-being. Credit for this goes to Dr. John Stuart Reid and the documentary The One Field, a film by Sippy Raz. Without this film, we might never have known about this incredible experiment. I really encourage you to watch the entire film because it's an eye-opener. You'll find links in the description. Think about it, if Anders Holte's voice, along with such beautiful and harmonious sounds, can wake up cells that were almost dead, it really makes you wonder about the music we listen to every day. Some of it is deliberately off-tune or tuned to harmful frequencies. But if music and sound hold such power that they can reanimate blood cells, as seen in the previous experiment, or heal Dr. Reed's back permanently, it raises a critical question. What effect does the music we listen to, the music that's promoted everywhere, have on us? We've all seen how music can have darker, even demonic aspects. If sound can influence cells in our brain, particularly our subconscious, then the impact of our daily sonic environment becomes a matter of significant importance. Here's a clip of Michael Jackson discussing the hypnotic power of music, underscoring how deeply and subtly it can affect us.
Singers, when they sing songs, it's like a mantra. You repeat a chorus over and over and over. So when a kid hears a song and he starts singing that chorus over and over and over, then you start to hear it in the alpha state to the subconscious mind. So you start to become the song or become what you're saying.
In the Bible, it speaks that there's life and death and power in the tongue. Be careful what you say. Be careful what you say. Be careful with the things you consistently talk about, because you're inviting that energy and vibration into your life.
After hearing Michael Jackson talk about how music can transform our subconscious, much like a mantra, and Tyrese Gibson referencing the biblical verse, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue," we're led to a crucial aspect of music: its tuning. It's widely discussed that the standard tuning frequency for music has been shifted from its original tone, a change attributed to decisions made by entities like the Rockefeller Foundation. This shift in frequency may seem minor, but its implications are profound. Music is more than just melodies and rhythms. It's a constant stream of lyrics and vibrations that we absorb, often without fully realizing their impact. As Michael Jackson pointed out, these lyrics can become our subconscious mantras, shaping our thoughts and beliefs in subtle yet powerful ways. The frequency at which music is played, now commonly at 440 Hz, a shift from the traditional 432 Hz, is another layer to this. This alteration in frequency can have a significant impact on how we perceive and are affected by music. We're essentially facing a double challenge: lyrics that can unconsciously influence our mindset, and frequencies that might be affecting our well-being at a cellular level. This realization calls for a more conscious approach to the music we choose to listen to. Instead of passively consuming mainstream music, which may be crafted to be addictive or carry certain subliminal messages, we can opt for alternatives. Indie music, or any genre that maintains the integrity of sound and lyrical positivity, can be a healthier choice. By selecting music tuned to more harmonious frequencies, such as the original 432 Hz, we can foster positive emotions like love, hope, forgiveness, and optimism. This isn't just about musical preference. It's about making choices that nourish our minds and bodies, creating an environment that supports our overall well-being. But you don't have to just believe me. The proof is in the experiments we've seen, and if that's not enough, the real-time visualization of words and sounds offers even more compelling evidence. For a more in-depth look, let's turn to Dr. John Stuart Reed and his fascinating work. His presentation, coupled with the CymaScope invention, provides an extraordinary glimpse into the world of sound visualization.
Seeing the hieroglyphs, that really inspired me. I wanted to develop an instrument that would make sound visible. Ultimately, I developed the CymaScope instrument, which uses a very small volume of water that is exquisitely sensitive to vibration. When any beautiful sound enters into the water, what I see every day is a beautiful image. Beauty begets beauty. We are 90% water. Think about the membranes around every cell in our bodies receiving a beautiful pattern, a harmonious pattern. Those cells are all going to be beautifully massaged and feeling, wow, we're being supported here. And there's a very clear change when you compare a healthy cell sound with a cancer cell sound, which produces ugly pattern.
In his work, Dr. Reed emphasizes how the cymoscope, using water's exquisite sensitivity to vibration, reveals the beautiful, intricate patterns created by sound. This is significant considering that our bodies are composed of a high percentage of water, around 60% in adults. This high water content makes us naturally receptive to sound vibrations, much like the water in the cymoscope. When beautiful, harmonious sounds enter our bodies, they can create positive, supportive vibrations at a cellular level. It's a form of sonic massage, a nurturing and harmonious influence on our cells. On the flip side, this also means that we are potentially vulnerable to the effects of negative frequencies. Imagine the impact of constant exposure to discordant, jarring sounds or music tuned to frequencies that are not naturally harmonious. These could potentially lead to a state of disharmony in our bodies, contributing to stress or even illness. This concern isn't just hypothetical, it's grounded in the reality of how sound interacts with our fundamentally water-based bodies. The concept of resonance is key here. Just as a particular frequency can cause a glass to resonate and shatter, certain sound frequencies, particularly those that are disharmonious or unnatural, can resonate in our bodies in potentially harmful ways. The music industry, often focused on what's commercially viable rather than what's holistically beneficial, can sometimes promote music that is out of tune with these natural, harmonious frequencies. Therefore, it's crucial to be discerning about the music and sounds we allow into our lives. Just as we care about the food we eat and the air we breathe, we should also be conscious of the sonic environments we inhabit. Choosing music and sounds that resonate with natural, harmonious frequencies can be a form of self-care, an act of nurturing our physical and mental well-being. In continuation of this exploration into the profound impact of sound and frequencies on our well-being, there's another intriguing perspective worth considering. This comes from Dr. Leonard Horowitz, a man with insightful views on the nature of sound and its effects. He discusses a concept known as the devil's interval, a specific frequency that he suggests can have adverse effects on our health.
Is called the devil's interval in musicology. That when you play 741 with 528, it creates such an annoying and dissonant energy, diseasing, stressful, that if you continue to listen to it, you could die. They have held the secret knowledge by which the pyramids were constructed based on the math. All of the universe is constructed according to these 9 tones. They knew about them. In fact, they instituted. In fact, it was the Rockefeller Foundation in 1939 that instituted the world's standard tuning. The Western world tunes to a 440 hertz frequency. That when you tune your instrument to that, the F sharp note is 741, precisely. Not 7.41.1 or 0.2, it's 741, which meant that there was a clear, scientifically researched intent, and indeed that's exactly what happened. The 741 A440 link came out of military research in the 1930s to induce psychosocial stress and dis-ease to the max. It was selected that A440 would be the standard tuning for the Western world. In fact, quote, mass hysteria, end quote, could be induced by instituting that frequency.
Together, these discoveries and insights resonate deeply with the biblical proverb, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue," found in Proverbs 18:21. This ancient wisdom is echoed in the scientific revelations we've explored, showcasing the incredible power of sound and words that we all possess. You might walk away from this video thinking it's just interesting or informing. However, I urge you to recognize these experiments and discussions as demonstrations of the power within each of us. They are not merely scientific curiosities. They are calls to action, invitations to use our innate abilities for positive change. Let's start using this power, as the Bible suggests. Use your words to create hope, to light up someone's day, to compliment and uplift those around you, and mean it from the heart.
My goal was to get this far in Hollywood and still have a virgin asshole. And never had sucked a penis. That was my only goal. I didn't want to get with a white woman because I was scared she might have me running down the street like Jonathan Majors.
There you go, come on, cat.
Not because I didn't like white women. I think white women are as great as any other women. But I'm not going to act like I'm not scared of them. I have a reason to be scared. You could be Kang the Conqueror, and they could take your rabbit ass down in 2 weekends. And that's the truth of the matter. So I stayed away from that. Now, I've had to turn down $50 million 4 times. 4 times. Just to protect my integrity and that virgin hole I was telling you about. Right. Because P. Diddy be wanting to party. And you gotta tell him no. You got to tell him no. I did. See, I got the receipts for everything I'm telling you. That's why I can say I'm so free.
This interview reveals what he really wanted out of all those COVID mandates.
Once people feel empowered and protected legally, you are going to have schools, universities, and colleges are going to say, you want to come to this college, buddy? You're going to get vaccinated. It's been proven that when you make it difficult for people in their lives, they lose their ideological bull and they get vaccinated.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You were not against vaccination. You just did not want it for yourself.
Exactly. People try to, declare me as an anti-vax. I'm not anti-vax. No, I'm pro-vax. I'm pro freedom to choose.
There will be a surprise outbreak. Given, as you heard from the introduction, that I have been around for a while and have had the opportunity and the privilege and the pleasure of serving in 5 administrations, I thought I would bring that perspective to the topic today, is the issue of pandemic preparedness. And if there's one message that I want to leave with you today, based on my experience, and you'll see that in a moment, is that there is no question that there will be a challenge to the coming administration in the arena of infectious diseases, both chronic infectious diseases in the sense of already ongoing disease, and we have certainly a large burden of that, but also there will be a surprise outbreak. And I hope by the end.
Now, this is the 37th book in the Asterisk series. In this particular book, from Asterisk and Obelisk, featured, well, basically it came out in 2017. Now, this was the second year of Trump's presidency. He was president in 2016. Some will say the first year. But it was long before the coronavirus and the pandemic, of course. So, what is an asterisk and what is an obelisk? Well, an obelisk is obviously the pointed needle, and the asterisk is obviously a ball, isn't it? You can draw a circle around an asterisk to make it a ball. So obviously this is what they're getting at with asterisks and obelisks, these two characters. Now, Asterix actually joins a chariot race in this particular edition, in this 37th book of the Asterix series. And the names of 2 of the characters in this comic mentions the very disease that Trump would be president over 2 years after this comic came out. Here it is, right here. Now, it doesn't just mention it once. Remember, this had not been named yet. Well, we had coronavirus, but not to the degree that it should appear in a comic. This is a completely random thing, or so they want us to believe. And they repeat it over and over again. These are pages from the comic. The reason why they repeat it over and over again, because the theme of this comic is a chariot race. And these are chariot races from all over the world. People from all over the world, different backgrounds, different cultures, as I'll show you soon. But who wins the race? Coronavirus wins the race. Here's another image here. Everyone's puzzled as to why he would win the race. As he's going through here. Here comes our favorite, straight from Rome, the champion, with MCDLXII victories. The one they call the Masked Auriga, the great faithful Bacillus, Now here's where the plot thickens, because what you're going to see next is a connection between Bacillus and Monsanto. We'll get into that in a minute. But what is the masked Auriga? Well, an Auriga was a slave.
How to Lie with Statistics by Daryl Huff. Being able to understand what you're looking at and being willing to say, hey, where did that come from? Is that accurate? It's a quick read. It's got a lot of good examples in it. It's a trip to the past, even though the basic points it makes are still as valid today.
A well-wrapped statistic is better than Hitler's big lie. It misleads, yet it cannot be pinned on you. This book is a sort of primer in ways to use statistics to deceive. It may seem altogether too much like a manual for swindlers. Perhaps I can justify it in the manner of the retired burglar whose published reminiscences amounted to a graduate course in how to pick a lock and muffle a footfall. The crooks already know these tricks. Honest men must learn them in self-defense.
People trust government to think through these eventual bad things. This was a failure to get ready, and the cost would have been tiny compared to, say, what we spend on being ready for war. We didn't actually do the simulation to think about, okay, what about nursing homes? What about getting factories ready? What about the testing regime? In fact, the testing could have been ramped up very quickly, and a few countries that have almost avoided the epidemic entirely, like Taiwan, New Zealand, Australia, they took their experience and actually prepared, and so they moved a lot faster. So we, we'll have to prepare for the next one. That, I'd say is will get attention this time.
Earth is not a closed system.
Gas dome.
The Earth is a closed system.
Glass dome.
Earth is not a closed system.
Gas dome.
The Earth is a closed system.
Glass dome.
Earth is not a closed system.
Gas dome.
The Earth is a closed system.
Glass dome. Get it? Glass dome. Gas dome. Are you with me?
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Now, one thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system.
The Earth is a closed system.
We cannot leave the Earth. There's no place to go.
Now, a lot of scholars are out there today suggesting or demanding that the word firmament is simply an expanse. It's the expanse of the air, the atmosphere, and the vacuum of space. Have you heard that before? The firmament is just an expanse. Anybody heard that before? I hear it from my detractors all the time. Funny thing is, the Hebrews and the Greeks disagree with that, especially the Hebrew scholars that took their Hebrew text and translated the Hebrew into Greek. So these are Hebrew people who understand their Hebrew culture, their Hebrew scriptures. They took the Hebrew words and translated them into Greek for the Septuagint. And the word that they chose for the Hebrew word rakia, when they translated it into Greek, was stereoma. And that word, the origin of that word, is a combining form borrowed from Greek where it meant solid, used with reference to hardness, solidity, three-dimensionality in the formation of compound words. And when you just look at other online resources such as blueletterbible.com, look up the word rakia, you'll see right there it's an extended surface, solid, expanse, firmament, expanse, flat as base, support, firmament of vault of heaven supporting waters above, considered by Hebrews as solid and supporting waters above. Over and over and over again, you see that the Hebrews understood it to be solid. The word rakia comes from a root word raka. Forgive me if I'm pronouncing these words wrong. And when you look up that word, that root word, It talks about to beat, to stamp out, to spread out, to stretch, to stamp out, to beat out, like when you're pounding metal, spreading metal out by beating on it. I don't know how you can beat on air to create an expanse. And Job, which I believe actually predates Genesis, comes right out and tells you. In Job chapter 37, verse 18, pick your translation. I grew up in the King James. So the King James says, "Hast thou with him spread out the sky, which is strong as a molten looking glass?" What's a molten looking glass? It's a mirror made out of beaten down metal.
The reflective properties of the dome firmament is part of the reason why you see rainbows, sundogs, and more. Because according to my research, the dome is most likely some form of reflective material.
In Egyptian mythology, Nut is the goddess of the sky. She is seen star-covered, arching over the earth, representing its dome. In Greek mythology, Uranus was the primeval god of the sky. The Greeks imagined the sky as a solid dome of brass, whose edges descended to rest upon the outermost limits of the flat earth. Uranus was the literal sky, and Gaia the earth. In the Roman era, he was often depicted as Aeon, god of eternal time, in the form of a man holding the zodiac wheel, standing above Gaia. The Hebrews believed the sky was a solid dome. They called this solid vault of heaven the Rakia, with the sun, moon, and stars beneath. In Indian mythology, the dome is called Brahmanda. This is the structure of the world according to Finnish mythology, showing a dome with the stars projected onto it. In the Aboriginal conception of the world, the earth was circular and flat, covered by the dome of the sky, which stretched out to the horizon. And there have been many ancient artifacts found which the mainstream has called stone handbags. But as you can see, there's no area to even carry anything. These were not handbags, they're artistic depictions of the dome here on flat Earth. So many ancient peoples knew about this dome and wove it into their worldview. The elite would have us believe that these are just made-up cosmologies, invented by peoples who were too scientifically ignorant to understand reality. But there is no coincidence that the same description of a flat earth and dome is so common. These cultures around the world had special knowledge about the nature of this place we are living in.
Impossible radio transmissions in 1915 where essentially the entire world could hear a transmission. That was before satellites, obviously. Okay. First transmission of the BBC Empire Service was broadcast on the 19th of December 1932 from this building, and it shows here basically all the places it could hear. Okay, 1915, Arlington, Virginia. They're able to hear this message, this transmission, in Europe, Hawaii, which is basically impossible. Okay, without satellites, allegedly. Allegedly without satellites. So it's kind of curious why they were able to do that. It kind of defies heliocentrism, considering that we're allegedly on a convex ball. There's no way for those radio transmissions going in a straight line to curve around the Earth, right? And even if you have the bounce effect that they they don't even explain that right. Even if you take into consideration like AM radio and the bounce effect and all this type of stuff, and other types of frequencies that can bounce off the alleged ionosphere, which is another quandary right there. How does it bounce off this mysterious ionosphere? Why does everything bounce off this ionosphere? The Kármán line.
It's almost like these electrons are running into a glass wall in space. Daniel Baker of the University of Colorado Boulder and the study's lead author said,
in 1947, during Operation High Jump, Admiral Byrd discovered the outer boundaries of the firmament. Many of his men's planes were disappearing very quickly. A lot of them were crashing into invisible barriers and disintegrating in mid-flight. It was shortly after discovering this barrier that Byrd discontinued his mission and returned home. What happened is Byrd's planes encountered the walls of the vaulted dome. Soon after, many measures like the Antarctica Treaty and a consistent military presence at the ice wall were put in place to cover up the structure of our enclosed world system, while also preventing unwarranted intrusion which could lead to an announcement of the discovery of the Earth's dome.